Alright. I don't know. I'm bored, and I feel like just spreading some general knowledge overall, because I hate people that try to attribute everything to climate fucking change. So basically, like, well, with last year, when people were trying to say like the storms that appeared here were all because in the Gulf of America were all because of you know seeding clouds and man-made bullshit and all that crap. You cannot create a fucking hurricane from scratch, especially a Category 5. There's no way you can man-make that shit. What drives not the formation, but what drives the patterns of hurricanes and where they decide they want to go is the atmospheric river, which is up here. They love this shit. This shit is like the average dude is the hurricane, and then big booty Latinas are the atmospheric river. They get drawn to this shit. They chase after this shit. This is what they love. Normally, when stuff down here is going towards here, usually the atmospheric river is around by like Tennessee and Kentucky and shit like that. Usually it cuts off about right here and they get drawn in like this. Sometimes it's a bit further up though, like how it is right here. This is a bit further up. So they're going to go towards like Halifax, go towards the center of the ocean, that kind of stuff. They basically become like fish swarms and etc. Um, So this is basically your determining factor. When you're looking at like weather models and stuff like that, always look for this. See where this is at? See the pattern of
get
how
going.
it's.
You
Oh, I think he paused it here. Hold on.
tropical disturbance level pattern here. You
So
can
like you see
see
how
it's
it's like going like this and it's not like moving up or down. This will shift over time. I don't like watch like weather stuff completely myself, but this will shift over time, and it'll either be further south, further north. I don't think it goes more north than this. I think it's like the most northern point it goes. I could be mistaken though, but usually like, it'll end up being a bit more south. Sometimes it's over here, and depending on like where there's high pressure and stuff, and high pressure will act like blockers. So if you get like a high pressure area around here, chances are a hurricane's not going to go towards that area. It's going to go like just south of it and kind of stay away from it. It doesn't want to absorb high pressure. It wants low pressure because the lower the pressure, the stronger the intensity. So this is why right now the hurricane season is kind of it's not the entire reason, but it's part of why it's like been dull. Uh, why there hasn't been too much going on is because most of the storms are getting dragged out eastward into the Atlantic Ocean and east, like northeast type of stuff. So like when the stuff forms off of Africa with the tropical waves, they start curving upwards and stuff like that. When this starts bringing down more towards like the center of the U.S., then they're going to be drawn more to the southmost part of it. So that's when they start coming towards Florida. When they start coming up like this, it's because the bottom of this is usually typically around here, maybe a little bit here, but not as far north as up here. When it's far enough up here, they try to curve like that. That's when they need that little curve action. That's when this one's forming. That's why it's going like towards Halifax and kind of forming in that direction. I think there's another one, but yeah. Um, I don't. That's how I know about it on the Atlantic side. On the Pacific side, there's like apparently there's like a storm out there that's like kind of going like this. So, but that is by Mexico, and Mexico's pretty far south in comparison. So, like if it's going like this, so that means it's attracted to this top part of the up and down motion. So that's why it's kind of going here because it's attracted to this part, and then it's going to come up here, and so it might. I mean, they are predicting it's going more and more west, so I'm guessing that it's going towards like the tail end of it. So there might be a shift at some point towards LA, or there might not. It depends on how like the attraction works. I don't know like all those details, like how close it has to be to completely like shift it, because it has to be like within a certain distance between it and the storm itself on how much it affects the curve pattern and the draw pattern and stuff like that. So
going.
otherwise, it'll
You
go completely out to sea, like it's currently. Hold on, let me go back to where it's at currently. Yeah, it'll go like that. It's like shifting upwards towards it, but it's not like a strong shift. So if it goes this far out and then shifts more inward, it'll probably just curve back in depending on how the river moves and go from there. But most likely, it's just gonna float out here, probably die out in some spot, or it becomes strong enough to where it doesn't really matter. But it's basically gonna be like another ocean storm. And then this is gonna like, yeah, fuck off in the Atlantic because this is moving east, so they're all gonna follow it. This might go a little bit more north into Halifax, maybe a bit more east. and then this other one's probably going to go up here, and then it's probably going to do the same pattern this one does. It all depends on how much the river shifts in the next couple days, because you can't predict everything. You can do like a general prediction, but you can't predict everything. That's why we still have storms that will do like weird twists when they're not really, when we don't really think they're supposed to, and other stuff like that. Because like with Irma came through Cuba to like the very end and then went up. What I was hoping for was that because this was before I actually started looking more into like the some of the specifics of why they shift and move upwards. This is like way before I decided to like kind of give myself some general knowledge and whatnot. But this comes up, it came up through Cuba, and then at the very end it shifted upwards, which I was fine with because I didn't want the center to come up where I was at. As long as that didn't occur, I was good. I could deal with like the out bands and stuff like that. They still fuck some shit up, but I was fine with the outer bands. What I hoped for was to go straight through Cuba. Sorry, Cuba. I don't mean to wish this upon you, but I'm looking for the best best case scenario for myself, and it's already hitting you. So what I was hoping it was to go straight to Cuba, out into the Gulf, and maybe dissipate in the Gulf, if not shift upwards towards Louisiana. Once again, apologies, Louisiana, but I'm hoping for like the best case scenario, but does shift to like be like nowhere near where I'm at, as everyone should. Like this is like just it's self-preservation in a sense, and not having to evacuate. Not having to evacuate is always nice. Um, but yeah, wasn't that boom? And then we haven't really had anything serious. Like I thought, there was an off chance that no, Helene I knew was gonna go up. What was Milton? Like there was an off chance that Milton either was gonna be wide enough to be like Irma and be problematic where I was, or it somehow would shift downwards. I don't know how it would do that, but like there's like the off chance that it might do that. And so like I was kind of on edge because especially since it's like a Port St. Lucy's like down over here, and I'm like down over here. So there could have been some fuckery. We did have some tornadoes as far down south as like Broward County and stuff, which was pretty crazy. But yeah, Milton ended up not being. Honestly, I didn't even know Milton was like if I wasn't paying attention to the where it was going and the intensity of it and stuff like that, I wouldn't even notice that Milton was even like a little bit north of where I was because where I was at down in Homestead, nothing was going on. There was no wind, there was no rain. The entire time Milton was up north fucking everything up where from where I was at in Homestead, nothing was occurring in Homestead. There was like a little bit of storms like before it hit, but right after Milton hit, like nothing happened. It was crazy. I mean, right during Milton hitting, like nothing happened. And then Milton screwed off into the ocean a bit, and then like the remnants and whatever were causing storms over here. So like afterwards it was causing a bit of storms, and before it was causing a bit of storms. But during there was like nothing down here. Nothing happened. It was like clear as day, beautiful skies, tiny little breeze where you couldn't tell like a storm was brewing somewhere else. It was perfect. It was beautiful. And it's like saying that because Milton did some damage. And I was working with FEMA during Milton and Helene, and the Helene especially, man, that shit was, whew. Like, I don't know if these people will ever see this video, but there was this call I took, and I was helping these people set up their account to, like, get assistance and whatnot. And it was like this elderly couple. They were both on like government assistance in some regard between like disability and retirement and all that nonsense. And the bottom of like the flooring was like all flooded in, and it was kind of like uh uh what's the word? It's like seepage. It was kind of like sticky and swampy in a sense. Like it was like really disgusting to walk through. And of course they had to walk through it because, their place got flooded in, they got a lot of water damage, et cetera, et cetera. So helping them set them up, and then there's like the income part of the process where you like ask them what the like general gross income is, and that like determines if they're able to possibly get a loan for assistance and stuff like that with a different with the Small Business Administration. And so he's going over the amounts and stuff, and I I think we're like I was calling it gross income, and he's like, "Yeah, this income is gross," and like he tells me like what it is. I'll try not to disclose that because it's a very very small amount. When I heard it, I was like, "Dude, how the hell are you living off of that much a month?" I mean, his wife gets a little bit of something too, but like still, like it was crazy how little they lived off of. I mean, the house was probably paid for, so there's that upside. But sadly, I don't know how things turned out for them. I definitely hope it turned out well because, they were nice little old people. They were cool. I liked them. And it was just funny because he's just like, yeah, this is gross. People that like being able to enjoy the little things despite what's happening to them is always a plus. I love people with that mentality because, stuff sucks. Your life gets uprooted, but you got to keep going forward and keep doing what you need to do to, not give in to nonsense. But yeah, I just figured I'd share that real quick. And if you guys do want more general knowledge while being entertained, Ryan Hall is definitely the way to go. He doesn't really explain things too much as he used to because he did all that earlier videos, so you can go like watch some of his earlier stuff from like last year that like goes way more into like patterns and like what they do and stuff like that. And like whereas now is like he's established enough and has enough of a follower base that like he doesn't really repeat certain things. So it's hard to like it'll probably be a lot harder to catch up on what's actually going on when he explains things and you're watching his channel. If you're like completely brand new and you have like no weather knowledge whatsoever. But he's still an entertaining dude. And he does a lot of good. Like between like they do go out and give assistance between like every single hurricane incident, disasters and stuff like that. If something's been bad enough, especially with like tornadoes and stuff, him and his crew has got people. If you're not so much US based and you're more like Caribbean based, like around Mexico and like Caribbean and kind of want more like information on weather stuff around there, Mr. Weatherman kind of is good. Like I don't like him as much as Ryan, but sometimes he will like report stuff just slightly a bit earlier than Ryan does. That's kind of why I like have him as like a slight backup in case like I feel like Ryan's being a little too quiet due to like whatever is going on in his life and stuff like that. So I just enjoy these people more than like the typical weather people because the typical weather people will just talk to you like you're a fucking ape. He's like, oh, but this is happening, and then that's happening, and then this, and then that's like I can't stand that shit. Like, talk to me like I'm a human fucking being, please. Explain some shit. It's nice when you learn stuff as things are being shown to you. But yeah, no, I'm tired of people like, oh, it's the climate, it's the climate. No, this atmospheric river shit, this shit's been around since fucking dawn of man. Even before the dawn of man, this is a natural curling pattern that causes all our weather frickin' patterns, pretty much all of them. And besides like the outside factors like water temperatures and stuff like that, but those will rise and fall as time goes on. Like people got to remember, like we've only been recording stuff for so long accurately that we can't attest to how things used to be in the past. We only have like barely 100 plus years of recorded history in this regard. And we're supposed to magically be like, oh, but 2,000 years ago, it was nowhere near close to this. We don't fucking know that. We can guesstimate, but that's about it. All we're doing is making educated guesses. We do not have the recorded facts to back that up. So that's why I cannot stand these climate fucking change people. Everything's climate this, climate that. You fart in someone's general direction. Oh, climate change. Oh no, you're killing the planet. It's just so fucking retarded. I can't stand this shit, man. Like, just fucking educate yourself, people. Like, get some general knowledge of how things work before you go around flailing your arms, screaming doomsday over every little fucking incident that occurs. But yeah, so sadly, due to this, I'm probably not going to get rehired anytime soon. But, the upside is no one's getting screwed over by hurricanes. So there's a massive plus side on that, even though I did like working with FEMA. That was fun. And I can't exactly go around traveling and doing physical shit. So I can't, like, be a reservist and do that. Otherwise, I probably would. I don't want to travel. That's the thing. Like I kind of like want to stay put. I kind of like want to stay in like ice, like in my little spot, and help people out as best as I can that way, instead of like going over and then like fucking over my asthma, my gout, my carpal tunnel, etc. Trying to physically move stuff around, help people out and stuff like that. I just can't do that. And I'd rather someone else have that position that can. Also, it's hard to gauge what the pay is actually going to be like 'cause they give you like this weird range when you're looking it up. And I think you have to be like a government employee of some sort before you could even go into that position, which is kind of weird. It's like, wouldn't that be like an entry level thing? No, wait, maybe I'm wrong. No, because I'm thinking of like the GS like designations. Like I think it needs to be like GS1 and then stuff like that. It's just I just haven't delved into it that much. I just only looked around and just did a little bit of snooping. But yeah, it just pissed me off, and everyone's like, "Oh, Milton was the government. The government did Milton." It's like, are you retarded? We've had storms that powerful from the Gulf before. They just hit Louisiana and not Florida. They hit Texas and not Florida. That was the only difference was where it went, not the intensity or how bad it was or anything like that. The fact that Milton even went like it was like what? It went category five down, and then category five again before it made landfall. We're even fucking lucky it hit as a category like what was it like three, barely a four. The fact that it died down so much was a godsend. Like if we were just a bit more westward as Florida we would have got the fucking category. We would have had like reverse Andrew because Andrew came from the east. We would have had West Andrew. That would have sucked, man. And then it would have been like West Andrew. I think it was a bit more south before it curved upwards and went into the like by Tampa and whatnot. Yeah, because I think it was a bit more south, and then it went up and then went over. It was crazy, man. No, it was crazy. That's the legend. It's like, it's category five, it's category three, category five, category three. It's like, what the fuck? Make up your mind, man. And then it dies down a little bit. And there was like a period where people thought it would like die down to like a category one and just stay that way and just hit as a category one. I mean, which what everybody wants that. Look, if you told me like, what would you rather get hit by a category one or a category four? I'm gonna take a category one every single time. Like, what do you mean? Oh man. But yeah, hopefully this continues this way and there's not any like last second surprises. But I think worst case scenario, if this pattern stays up the same, the worst we'll probably get is maybe something clipping around like New York and shit, like with Hurricane Sandy and whatnot. Was it Sandy? I think it was Sandy. Because Sandy like hit when I was up in New York. Um, yeah, I was up in New York. What was it? That was 22 or 23. So it was like 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. And like it was hitting New York City or whatever, and like I was in mainland New York by Portland. Or was I I was by Syracuse actually. I was by Syracuse when this was occurring, and then I didn't even know it was like hitting around that area. And then they were talking like I like saw the like little things with like about power being out and stuff like that. I'm like, wait, a hurricane hit there? Like that was like just off of us. That was crazy. Maybe this had to be like 2012 because this should have been like during the summertime, right? This was the summer I went up. This is like the last time I went to go visit. No, the second to last time. I went up there, then I came back down because my wisdom teeth were fucking destroying my jaw, and it was way too painful to eat anything. So I had to go down and get that shit removed, and then I came back up around like October. Yeah, still hilarious that it never snowed once when I was in New York. I was in like it snowed the day before I arrived in December. Then I stayed all the way to like I think like the second week of January. Didn't snow until the night after I left. I left, then my ex was telling me it was snowing over there. And I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean it's snowing in New York? Like it didn't snow the entire time. Like it was fucking hilarious. Then of course, summertime it's not gonna snow, so I was up there during the summer and I came back in October. And I think from like October to November it didn't snow either. So it's just like it just did not want to snow when I was around. And then I go to Illinois. But like I went to Illinois like shortly afterwards. I think like it was like the end of January, sometime around February. We were there for like 2 weeks, I took over to Illinois to go see a friend in Peoria, and it snowed there. So like that was like my first ever time like dealing with snow. I mean, not technically, because there was a time when we were in July doing camping in the summer with my first ex and in Colorado on the mountains, and it snowed. Like on July 4th, I think it was. Yeah, it was like July 4th, it snowed. And so we were gonna stay there, I think maybe another day or two, but we decided to pack it up and just go back because it was snowing and we weren't prepared for that. Especially me, I don't have any winter clothes. I'm a Florida man. And so we brought, so we decided to go back down. And so that technically was my first experience with snow, but it wasn't enough snow like it was in Illinois. Like Illinois, it was like, I think like a good couple inches of snow. And I remember I didn't have a fucking jacket. I didn't have shit. And so I'm like walking around. I heated up a little cup ramen. I'm just walking down, letting that whole heat my hands up, keep my hands warm. Just slowly eating the ramen before it got cold. Oh man, that was some shit. Those are some good times. I still hate Illinois though. I'll never go fucking back. I like out of all the states I dislike the most that I've been to, I think it's Illinois. Because I wasn't even in Chicago. Like I went to like O'Hare. I went to like the airport. I hated the fucking airport. But in Illinois itself, I was only by Peoria and like the small town area. Usually I love that. Like I love small town areas because they're chill. But like just Illinois, I just hated it. Illinois as a whole. Just hate that state. Colorado was kind of okay. I hated how Denver was. Um, the Denver imports sucked too. And I was in Aurora, and Aurora's bad right now. Like every time I hear about Aurora on the news, I'm like, dude, I used to be over there. Like my ex's grandpa was over there, man, and we were like, I mean, it was sketchy as fuck. When I was looking around, I saw like the levels of graffiti and shit. I know I mentioned this in one of my videos before, but like there was a time like we were walking up this street, and there's like this little Mexican mark right across from the intersection. 'Cause I forgot what this intersection was called, but where that main road that goes over to Denver is. There's like that intersection. We're just south of that in Aurora, and it's on the right side of like the interstate thingy, whatever that comes over. And so we crossed over there, and then across the street where we're at on the right hand side, before the Mexican Mark part, is this like little motel place. It's like right across the street from the KFC, the McDonald's, if you know that area. And in like the bushes and shit, like there was like a whole dress, some fucking shoes, some other shit that like it was like kind of like jewelry, like it looked like they just stripped some bitch naked and just took off with her. Like I'm like, dude, I don't know who that shit belongs to, but I ain't fucking touching it. Whoever that belongs to, hopefully they're doing okay, because what the fuck? Because you don't know if like that was someone getting kidnapped, that was just some random hooker on some LSD or some shit, just stripped butt ass naked and just went off somewhere. Like you don't know, man. It's crazy. But then at the McDonald's there, this was all a year before the shooting happened in the Aurora movie theater. There was this other incident at McDonald's. I don't know what the fuck happened, but this guy ended up having to like leave in like a stretcher and shit. I think it was like a car accident or something. What the fuck was it again? Whenever like this like something happened, this dude had to leave in a stretcher, and we're like, we just wanted to go get some McDonald's, man. We're like, whoa, what the fuck? So I think did we end up going in and ordering, or did we say screw that shit? I think we said screw it and went to KFC instead. I could be mistaken though, because I do remember the interior of McDonald's, and McDonald's was kind of weird looking. Like it was pretty dirty in there. I did not like that shit. And then after we went there and ordered that one time, we said, "Nah, this McDonald's is like disgusting. Like, why would we even go back here?" And so we started ordering from Sonic instead. Well, the upside was like Sonic was closer to the house, so we would instead of going up north to where the little Mexamart intersection is, we'd go all the way to the right. No, not all the way to the right, but like we would go from the house instead of going north, we would just go right instead. And there's like this little walkway that we can go through, and then a couple blocks down is like a Walgreens or like a CVS or something like that. And then like a little bit past that is the Sonic. It's either north of it or I think it's a bit more east and then north. I don't remember like the exact specific layout, but I do remember like there was like the CVS Walgreens, and then a bit more east slash north of that was the Sonic, and we'd go to Sonic and we get some like burgers and shit from Sonic because it wasn't McDonald's and it wasn't disgusting. Oh man, I don't think the food was bad, just the place didn't look appealing, and that's why I was like, nah, I don't want to come back here. This place is sketchy as fuck. What were some other things that happened? Wasn't too much else besides like the sketchiness of Aurora and my hatred of Denver and the drive and like the way like the roads work in Denver. Oh, parallel parking. Fuck parallel parking. I mean, it's kind of the same down here as well where I'm at in like in between like Miami and Doral, but yeah, parallel parking is AIDS. But yeah, no, that was just basically everything I wanted to go over. I didn't really mean to go on a tangent about like story time and shit, but I just hate people pointing to everything as climate this, climate that. All about the scientists. A scientist can suck my dick. A scientist can say what the fuck they want. It doesn't mean it's true. Because they did something and it kind of made their theory seem somewhat legitimate does not mean that's the truth. That's not how science fucking works. You need countless trials, countless evidence to like to make something absolutely true. You can't just be all like, "Oh, this guy says the thing," and then two other dudes backed him up, and therefore it must be true. It's like, no, dude, you need countless evidence supporting your claims. Otherwise, it's just a generally accepted theory, which is basically what climate change is. But like, the climate's always gonna change. That's how climate works. You fucking retards. Oh my god, man. Like, why are people so fucking stupid? Like the most we probably accelerated the differences in how much it's supposed to like change naturally is probably so fucking minuscule that you people need to get the head out of your asses. I agree with the whole yes, we need to make things cleaner overall. The air needs to be more breathable. We need to fucking, not pollute. But there's a difference between not polluting and making things cleaner and more breathable and beautiful than there is and being like, oh no, we don't do this, the world's gonna end. Because it's not. It's not gonna end. It's just not gonna be that nice. We're not gonna like how it turns out when we keep being a bunch of irresponsible dickheads. But that's just how it is. And you're not gonna get a bunch of people behind your movement if all you're doing is screaming doomsday every fucking 2 years. How many times has Florida supposed to be underwater by now? In this year or before this year? Every single time. Oh, the beaches are gonna be the Florida's gonna be half of Florida's gonna be underwater by this time. All this time the sea level's rising so much that everything's gonna be underwater. Florida's gonna be a swamp. It's gonna be part of the ocean. Every fucking time since 2000, I've heard this bullshit. And what hasn't occurred? Florida being fucking underwater. Yes, there are sinkholes. Yes, there's degradation because of how um our surface floor bed type thing works, and because of like the limestone and all that stuff, the way it absorbs water, there's like a period where it's fragile in absorption of water, and that's why like it collapses and caves in, and we get sinkholes. That's basically how that works, but that's not completely man-made. It's just how the thing works around, and we were stupid and didn't decide to, think about that when we were building shit. That's how it goes. You got to think about the environment, the lay of the land and stuff. You got to get a whole bunch of different opinions for you to go and put some shit up because you got to think of like what's it doing, what could possibly happen, how long do you have before you have to just basically abandon that area and let it renew itself before you can put another building back on that foundation, etc. There's all these different aspects, and I don't know all of them. I'm not this all-knowing, clairvoyant being, but I know enough to know that people who like spew climate change 24/7 are fucking retarded. That's what I do know. You're fucking stupid. So stop it. advocate for things that actually matter. You can still advocate for being having a cleaner environment. That's fine. Do that. I'm completely okay with that. But if you're all like, "Oh no, we need to save the animals because they're so soft and cuddly and I like them," it's like that's not a fucking argument. I don't give a fuck if you like the animals. What I care about is okay, how much effort is this going to take to preserve the species? What benefits does the species bring? How much will it fuck everything over the species is gone over time, or either immediately or long term? How long until, like, how much does it make things unbearable? Like with the whole thing with bees, like, although bees don't pollinate things, plants pollinate on their own. They don't need bees. Bees just speed up the process and make it more like, there's more range because they can cover more ground besides the plant natural process for pollination and stuff like that. But like we can live just fine without bees. It would suck, yes, but we're not gonna everything's not gonna end because the bees are gone. Which is fine to preserve bees. Like, hey, I don't want bees to die out because I like the things they do for this, and this. They give us, honey, and they contribute to a lot of our food products and stuff like that, and we kind of need those. That's a sound, valid, good argument. The whole, oh no, if we don't save the bees, everything's going to end. That shit is stupid. Stop it. Because everything's not going to end because of one species dies. It's going to be annoying. It's going to be harder, etc., etc. But we're going to go on just fine. We don't need a certain species to live. They make certain products and stuff like that easy to come by and easier to make, and like legitimacy of the product, and we don't have to like make some synthetic bullshit that will fuck us up in the long term like a lot of our food products. But we're not gonna just all magically the world is gonna implode and nothing's gonna function anymore. That's not how we work. We will adapt. So that's why I don't take as much precedence for certain species and stuff like that and certain animals. We can't save everything. We can't preserve everything. We gotta make choices. We gotta choose what's worth saving, what's worth investing our resources in, and what isn't. And that's based on what benefits us and the environment the most. Because you know what's not gonna give a fuck about us? Animals. You think a bee's gonna give a fuck about if humans are around or not? They're not gonna give a fuck. A bee only cares about, do I have a flower to go fucking pollinate? Do I have some stuff to go grab and go bring it back to the hive, to go produce some honey and produce some offspring? That's all a bee gives a fuck about. Why would I give two fucks about animals that give no fucks about us? They don't care. So why should we care? Like, if I would be more lenient if the animal goes out of its way to try to preserve us, and then therefore I would want to preserve them because hey, they're doing this stuff for us of their own accord, not because of like what happens naturally and all that stuff, but they're taking the willingness of whatever bit of consciousness they do have and awareness to be like, hey, I want to benefit humans. I like humans, but animals don't fucking do that. So why would I give them something that they're not giving me? It doesn't make any sense. You're wasting resource. Well, not wasting because there's still benefits of it, but you're expending resources and stuff on something that would never do the fucking thing for you. Well, even if you have like a pet and the pet will do that, it doesn't matter. That's one pet. One pet's not the entire fucking species. Every pet that you own has its own personality, its own what it decides to do. Every dog is different. Every cat is different. There's similarities, yes. A lot of them will do similar things and similar patterns based on how they grow up. But they still are individual animals, and individual animals do not make up entire species. Now you can have like a group of like you can do like the likely case scenario. Okay, how likely is it based on this species thing, like based on encounters and stuff? How likely are they to be aggressive? How likely are to be docile? Um, what is the the line crossing areas? Like what can you possibly get away with even though you shouldn't want to do that, what can you just not do whatsoever? What exactly pisses them off to no end where they want to just rip your fucking throat out? And then you got to make sure that animal never sees the person that did that offense ever again, so that way they don't have that animosity built in because they see that they're gone, they'll be like, okay, well, that's how it should work. Sometimes animals aren't that way. Sometimes they'll get to where just being pissed off that one time will just put them in like a general mood and mindset to where they're just gonna be pissed off a lot of the time because some person wronged them. Pride and all that bullshit. Like you think that shit's bad with us? Imagine with us something that has like no self awareness and doesn't like cognitively think about things. It just acts on impulse, emotions, and what it wants to do in that moment. So yeah, how long have I been doing this shit? It's been about 35 minutes. Felt a lot longer than that. I too did go on tangents and whatnot. But yeah, that's about all I wanted to go over. I just wanted to call climate change activists a bunch of fucking retards like they are and move on. All right, peace, guys. Take care.